to all you people that are on YouTube. And thanks for everybody that came. We'll just take a few minutes and you can talk a little bit amongst yourselves about what we're going to do here today. Okay, if you're ready, let's get started. So thank you for coming to this meeting. I want to introduce the leadership for the meeting. From the LMB, the Leadership Ministry Board, Ellen Meyer, Ron Gradalushin, myself, Bruce Rosenthal, and then from the church staff, we have Pastor Jeff and Dave Grant. And Steve White's going to be here also working for that. So let's get going. So mainland expansion is an objective of our strategic plan. In the last meetings, we met to discuss lease of temporary sites, properties. In this meeting, we're going to discuss the purchase of land for a new church campus. So understand these meetings are important to us, to the board, as we take an opportunity to hear from all of you. We need your input because we can't do all of your thoughts by ourselves. So we have a prayerful question that we ask you to include in your thoughts. Led by the Holy Spirit, how can Island Lutheran best position itself to be used by our Lord to transform as many lives as possible for Christ? And please, when you're thinking of this, remember our mission statement, knowing and sharing the joy of salvation through Jesus Christ, because that's really part of what we're doing on the mainland. So let us pray to start the meeting. Father, thank you for allowing us to gather in your name as we consider your charge. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Today we are taking some time to consider one of the many steps in our discipleship process. Allow us to be willing to speak openly, to listen intently, and to continue to gather information, to hear, and then ultimately do your will. We know you speak to all of us and that you use each of us in ways that please you. Guide us through the future challenges and let us be reminded that you always provide all that we need to live your way. Today we ask that you are with each of us as we grow in our discipleship and know that thy will be done. Amen. Now we'll, Ron?
As we did with the lease meetings, we're going to have basically the same construct that we had then. First, we'll go through receiving. That is the receiving of information from you, your thoughts and feelings about different questions that we'll be asking. Secondly, we'll be sharing. There's been a lot of work going on already, and we would like to share some of that information with you today. Also, after we go through that, and finally, there'll be a break and a question and answer, and then we'll be deploying in the Spirit as we continue in his path. We're going to have basically the same type of structure we had last time, so at this time I'd ask Alan Meyer to come forward with to go through the questions.
Steve, can the online community see that whiteboard?
Not very well.
Okay, I'm Alan Meyer. Welcome and welcome to those online. If, as we ask these questions, those of you online have comments, we would like you to text them. Text them to Lauren. His phone number is 314-520-1598. Again, I'll repeat that, 314-520-1598. And please feel free to give your comments, your answers to these questions as they're posed. And we look forward to hearing from not just those present, but those online. So, first question. Why? Why are we looking to find land to purchase? This may seem obvious, but we'd like you to talk at your table about this and then report back So we're going to give you about, this shouldn't take long, 5 minutes, maybe a little more. So talk amongst yourselves, and please think about why Island Lutheran is looking for land to purchase. Go. Well, yeah.
All right, we'll take some time now to hear some of the responses and see what the tables have been talking about. I will remind you, please raise your hand so Steve can give you the mic so the online community can hear as well. That would be good. All right, anyone want to start with the why?
One comment before we get too far. If there's something that's totally relevant but a little bit off track, we're going to put it in the parking lot.
Okay.
And we'll address it, but let's stay with the
We're going to
why.
take Paradise and put up a parking lot. Okay, the cost of land is continuously rising, and the availability of land is diminishing as the developers keep building homes out there. My name is Mary Moore. Thank you.
Good point.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Ideas?
We're not doing the cost of the reason why we've already made the decision that we're going to do it, so that's not even part of the why anymore, right?
Right.
I'm Lauren, and for me, the why, one of the whys would be a lease is a short-term plan, buying is a long-term plan.
Short-term versus long.
Long-term, short-term versus long-term, absolutely.
Very good. Any others? Any comments from over here?
Mine's covered.
Okay.
I heard something else over here about building, so you have a sanctuary, where in the lease, you might not have a sanctuary.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
better wording.
Storefront versus.
I think our presence will be more seen and more welcoming the sooner we can get into an actual church where they have the church environment. Plus, we can build to accommodate all of the avenues we want, where if we lease, it may be a pocket something here, a pocket something there, because we might not be able to do all of the services we want to provide in a leased place.
That's a good point. Thank you, Betty. Any other comments? Yes. Wait a second. Wait for the mic.
What size church would you expect to build to start with? And would it be a building that you could add on?
That'll come with the sharing part of this discussion.
And we can address that a little bit in the what.
Yes.
When we get to the what.
All right. Any other comments for the why? If not, Alan, you want to present this next question?
And when the lease conversation happened a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks, there was a what question. What is it going to look like? What is it for? In some ways, who will it serve? We are going to change that question a little bit this time and say, in the short term, what do we envision at purchased land? Say through phase one, in the short term. Not talking about 5, 10, 15 years, but 1 to 3 years. What do we expect? What's phase one? What does it look like? Talk about it.
for the what for the short term, for the first 3 years or so. Anyone care to express what their group was talking about? Let's wait till Steve gets you the microphone. He's coming.
Hi, I'm Bob. Yeah, I'm looking at something short-term to get us started, buildings ordered like this Fellowship Hall that could serve many purposes at the beginning, multi-purpose building, whether it be temporary or permanent.
So would you visualize that this is where the worship area would be also initially? Okay. All multi-purpose, okay.
And then that could be added on.
Any other thoughts for the group?
I think you really need to pick land and that structures, logistics and all that, thinking also as the future. I know you want to get started really fast, but if you ignore what the future might bring, you might box yourself into a situation that you can't live with, and you got to start all over again.
That's true.
I'm just going to put down, think long-term. Yeah. Doesn't really fit the what? Right. It's an important.
Portable walls so that we can partition things off if we wanted to do classrooms or offices or anything else, but something that, you know, they're very easy and they're not super expensive.
Right.
Okay, what else in the short term? What does it look like?
Any other?
1 to 3 years, phase 1.
It seemed like there was a lot of discussion going on at that time. Was it any other items want to be brought forward?
Well, in the short term, I think we need to, whatever type of building we put up, we need to have the long-term idea in mind so that we have plans where we know what additions can be made to end up doing everything we want to do.
Right.
So the construction needs to be able to have additions easily added. So the cost of all of that is minimized.
I guess my initial thoughts were to have a worship area and an area for offices, but everything planned where it could be expandable. But after hearing Bob's idea, I kind of like your idea better. So, but to have a formal worship area, but it could be expandable, and space for Welcome Center and some offices that could also be maybe used for a small Bible class or something like that too.
Right. These have all been very good ideas. Alan, would you like to present the next question?
Sure. All right, now, let's take it further. Thank you, Steve. I know my voice carries, but not over the internet. All right, so now let's think beyond 3 years. What's it going to look like in 10 years? What's it going to be used for in 10 years? What are some ideas for how we can reach people with the joy of salvation as we go forward. Okay?
All right. Okay, we'll get back together and discuss some of the what for the long term. So, anyone care to tell what they've talked about their tables?
Okay, somebody share, what did we talk about?
Third campus. Third physical campus.
Third physical campus. Yeah. I repeated it. Any others for long-term, what we'll use the land for? I know there was some discussion, so.
I was going to say, I overheard daycare,
Yeah.
senior daycare. Yep. And then preschool.
Preschool. Any other ideas for long-term for the use of the land?
Yeah, this is Lauren. Just talked about building a facility for possibly a Bluffton charity that would like to expand out to that area also, such as Bluffton Self-Help, which covers food pantry, ESL classes, a lot of different areas to help the community.
Defining long-term is over 5 years and short-term is 3 to 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
I know at this table, they talked about maybe having sporting fields, like baseball fields, softball fields, soccer fields, something like that, just for community activities. Pickleball.
Why are we laughing at that? Absolutely.
But it's the worst thing for old people.
Oh, just called you old.
I'm talking about myself, okay.
May have to have a little separation here.
When you start talking recreation space, you mean you're talking more than 15 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, studies are out. There are studies out that say as churches build, if they have recreation space, they will attract families. And soccer fields, maybe not pickleball, but things like that. Or indoor gymnasiums, multi-purpose auditoriums.
But then with outdoor space, there's more maintenance. Yeah, you know,
Could be. You gotta mow it.
water and fertilize it and keep it looking neat. I mean, that's, you know, it requires a groundskeeper to have a lot of space. Facilities manager.
Remember that an acre is about 44,000 square feet. So that's an area about, what, 200 by 200? So that's a pretty good sized field. I don't know what a soccer field is, but it's gotta be close to that, isn't it?
Just as a reference, the church we belong to in St. Louis, I think we had 7 acres, and we had a soccer field, a softball field, a school with a gymnasium, full church. We had plenty of parking, and we had a daycare. So yeah, and so that was on 7 acres. Now it was no, we had plenty of parking. And but we were landlocked. That's all we could do. That's but as a reference.
And parking, an acre. So if you have,
Well, and if you angle park them, you can put more because they don't have to, the spaces don't need to be as wide.
so if you have, 300 parking for 300 or 400 cars, and a couple acres for that, you still have, if we're looking 10 to 15 acres, you still have quite a bit of land that's open and available. It's not, I don't think we should limit ourselves in our imagination of where we're gonna be 5, 10, 15 years from now. That's a great one, Warren. I think that'd be.
You'll look at that now because you can become landlocked very quickly.
One second, wait for the mic and say that again, please. Go ahead.
Forgot what I said. You need to think about it because you can become landlocked like most of these churches are, they're landlocked. So that'll happen very quickly, particularly as fast as things are growing out there.
Wouldn't we want to try to determine what the community needs are also?
Yes. And there are probably studies already done describing what those needs would be out wherever we decide to buy this land. And
Dave, I think you and Andy are doing a lot of that type of work out there, aren't you? Yes. Andy is special. He's very much studying what's needed out there.
I'm looking at more of the fiscal
Right.
things, and Andy's, meeting with the different schools and the USCB, Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah.
My name is Andrea. My question is, doesn't the long-term sort of depend on the response the community out there has to us? I mean, it might start out really slow for the first 10 years. I mean, it's, how do you determine, I mean, these are all nice things to have on your board, but you're not going to do them all at once. It's going to depend on the demand of the community or how we're received in the community.
right.
Sorry, Mary.
Yeah. So, what? Call and bury him.
Well, put a columbarium in there for Mary.
No?
Mary, did you hear that? Did you hear Dave's comment? Say it again, Dave.
I said we'll put a columbarium there for you.
A columbarium? Absolutely.
There you go.
We should put one here, actually. I think in the 9 years that I've been here, I have been to two funerals with caskets, and both of those people ended up getting cremated after that anyway. But every single funeral I have been to at this church, the people were cremated eventually.
So we want a crematorium?
No,
No.
I certainly should consider a columbarium.
Yes.
She's got a grave site already and gravestone.
So I have a question for Bruce. When you say 10 to 15 acres, is that usable acres? Because around here, you got to keep track of the
Yeah.
water part.
You would have to do that usable, and he's right, I mean, yeah, he's correct. The big part about land here is how much land you can use. I know early on back, I looked at a couple of sites. One of them was 11 acres, but you could only build on 3 acres. Another site was 17 acres, and you could build on 11 acres. And that's a big issue here, is how much land you can use. So that's one of the questions that we ask every time we look at land is, has this been assessed for usable land? Not just acreage, but usable land.
Question, what is our current footprint here, number of acres?
2.5.
2.5 acres? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for this discussion. Good points have been brought up. Alan, we have our last question to do.
So I'm sure you've thought about where. Where should this be? And Mary was talking a little bit about Ridgeland, and that may be too far. Talk at your table about where it is. Not just physical location, but things like frontage. Does it have highway frontage? Accessibility? But mostly think about what the area is that we want to locate purchased land. We have received our first comment from online. Lauren, could you tell us what that question was? Where's the mic? Oh.
Thank you. Is it on? Yeah. Yeah, the first question was how did this amount of space that we're looking to purchase, how does it compare to our current footprint, our current location? So it's 2.5 current versus 10 to 15 acres looking to purchase. So that was the question and the answer.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for participating online.
All right. We like to start sharing on the where that you guys all discussed just now. So anyone care to voice? All right. Thank you, Bob.
I'm Bob. I think it's also going to depend on what is available. And the accessibility of it.
I know. They have that big problem with Buckwalter. And now they're looking at
Some more wheres.
I would say Bluffton and Okatee. I think if you go past that and start getting into Hardyville, you're getting too far.
Let me make one comment.
All right.
So just one comment for you guys. When we started, when we started creating the policy governance, we had Jim Galvin as our consultant. And one of the things we talked about was expanding the church. And we said, we need a site out there. He said, no, you don't. We don't? No, he said, you need 2 or 3 or 4 sites out there. Because he said, the way it's growing, you need to have in your heads that more churches are needed out there. So that's, I don't think we should be aiming just for where this church would be 20 or 25 years from now, but where it's going to be 3 years from now or 2 years from now when we build it, and then go on. And I know there's other churches already in Bluffton who have already purchased sites out in the Ridgeland area. Not to expand tomorrow, but someday they will, because the land is very cheap out there right now. Not cheap, but comparatively speaking, it's cheap, but today, about 150 to 200,000. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to talk about that later.
I have a shorter meeting if we answer all the questions.
I'm Betty. We also discussed that if we get...
Don't point it straight up. Point it right to your mouth.
Okay. If we go too far out to where the people in Sun City, where a lot of our congregation lives, has to drive as much to get to it as they do here, they'll just keep, a lot of them may just keep coming here, and you're going to lose the base that's going to start the church out there.
Yeah, we had that discussion at this table too. Any others for where?
I had mentioned, I'm Steve. I had mentioned that I think a good location would be between, say, O.C. Welch and Margaritaville, somewhere not too far closer to Margaritaville. And there's land out there, but I don't think I've seen any of it up for sale.
Yeah, I don't. Idea. What are you saying, Audrey? We can't hear you. Oh, you got to get on the speaker.
off Argent Road, they have made a whole new neighborhood
Right.
there now that was all wooded at one time. And it's amazing how they're growing now off from Argent to the north.
Yeah, that area is really developing fast. They'll cover some of that in sharing. All right, any other discussion on the where?
Is the same team that's looking for a lease site also looking for land?
Yes.
Okay.
Ideas about where?
Well, my name is Andrea, and my where question goes to, well, they link to the what's, because where it would be affordable for whatever we decide the short-term or long-term vision is. I mean, it's not just available. I mean, this is perfect, but if we bought this land, then some of these other things can't happen because we've overspent our budget on the land. Cost. I don't know where you want to put it, but I mean, the where might be just the perfect location, but then all of a sudden, you know, we have a good response, but we can't afford to do some of the things to get things going.
Very good.
Tom, I think visibility is very important in any site that you select. If you can get it right on 170 or 278, you're perfect. But if you get it in a out of the way corner, people won't see it, and that'll hurt your chances of expansion.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussions on the where? If not, we'll take a quick 10-minute break. So we'll be back about 20 after or so. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, we got nothing in the parking lot to deal with.
Yeah, that's good. I'm sure that'll get filled with.
All right. Looks to me like we're not using the restroom. If you need to do the comfort break, do it now because we're starting in 1 minute. Group, I know everybody. All right, if you take a moment and take a peek at the handout, those of you that were with us for the lease conversations can say, oh, this looks like the same structure, and that's what it is. I'm going to open up the conversation, and then we're going to have Dave come up and share a bit, and then I'll finish off, and then we'll answer questions. And we want to be sensitive to everyone's time, so I'm going to keep us rolling. Boy, talk about exciting for me personally. Did not expect to be doing this in my mid-60s, but this is what God has in mind. And I'd like you to just say, you know, if you remember the mantra from the lease, the lease conversation was to build the core. Say that with me. Build the core. That's really the priority of the lease. Our goal is to build the core, and we believe that that core will ultimately need something more permanent. However, if there's a mantra for today, the mantra is really that phrase that starts with the word one. Would you read it out loud? One church, many sites. Let's say it again. One church, many sites. So this is a very apropos time to stop and ask you to think about how many sites do we have now? One. Two. Yeah. So the truth. So it's really kind of a challenge to our thinking. And I had this conversation with one of you recently who was just in shock when the couple discovered, said the words, well, you know, I've been traveling and I've been online, and there's only about 28 of us, 35, that are online at the same time. And then I said, yeah. And I said, but the data is we just did the statistics for the first 6 months, the average is 115. And the person said, well, how do you get there? I said, well, I guess all the people that go to church go home and watch it again. No, they don't do that. So that should tell you we have people in different time zones. So when someone is in California, it's 5:30. They're not going to watch the service at 5:30 in the morning. They're going to watch it later. When someone's in China, it's 12 hours. So we start to realize our online community, when we do the metrics of what they say for the number of people, 115, it's really an average of 1.5 to 2 times that, because again, most people are not watching alone. So that tells you that we have somewhere between 170 and 230 people every week. That's the same size of our worshiping community. So we have 2 sites already. And so I want you to say it again. Starts with the word one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One church, many sites. The reason I think we need to make sure we're clear on this is because actually we would want to be thinking about this whole land acquisition from a long-term perspective. In fact, I did a little research for you to just consider the distance, both mileage and time frame, from where everybody was saying that the lease should be somewhere in the 170, 278 corner there. If that's where it is, well, from there to Beaufort, just so we're aware, that is 23 miles, 35 minutes. Will there be 5 to 7 years from now, a little house church in Beaufort. Come to worship tomorrow and hear about a house church in Colossae. Ridgeland. Many of us know Ridgeland because it is growing like crazy, and that is just a big, very popular area. Ridgeland is 21 miles from that corner of 170 and 278, and it takes about 25 minutes. This would probably be a good moment to pause. That's what it takes now. What will it take 10 years from now? Now, I share that with you because in 5 years, what we have found is the drive from Sun City has changed dramatically in the only 5 years. Imagine 10 years. And so this starts us thinking about, so you've heard about Beaufort, you've heard about Ridgeland. Hardeeville, that's a little closer. It's 9 miles, about a 15-minute drive. And that too is an growing area. And then, if we were to think about something that was more in the Pooler, down the 95 corridor, that's 27 miles, about 30 minutes. One church, many sites. We don't know what God has in mind. What we do know is that our whole construct of church needs to change. Because the church I started ministry in almost 38 years ago is not the church of today. And very likely that's the case with all of you. So that's what gives us this phrase, hub and spoke model. Again, I was meeting with one of our couples, and the couple said to me, when I was here with Pastor Querum, is that his name? Pastor Querum. Anybody go back to Pastor Querum? 1, 2. Pastor Querum and I sat and talked about the hub and spoke model for this church. Does that just show you how the Holy Spirit, when we say led by the Spirit, who knows God's timing? But we can clearly start to think about the hub and the spoke model when we think about having a campus physical campus on the island, a physical campus on the mainland, and then a non-physical campus through online. Hub and spoke. Now, I don't want to disturb you, but I think we have to ask 10 years from now, 15 years ago, where will the hub be? If you're a person that is like into, ego and power and all of that, I guess it might become harder for you to hear this. But the hub will not be here. I mean, my goodness. The reality is, when we're talking about hub, just by very proximity, and if not just by proximity, by availability. This campus is 2.25 acres. There's no way we would want to replicate this campus because we've been dealing with parking situation for over 20 years, and it's just come to the problem, and we started to realize. So the next bullet, if you look at it, is right now we're talking probably somewhere in the 8 to 15 acres. Why 8 to 15? 8 to 15 is in between two different extremes. So 8 to 15 avoids the extreme of this campus, which is just so small. You just really are going to have difficulty providing community ministries. We are very challenged as it is right now with our campus, not just with parking, but with facility. But also, we are thinking that we're going to avoid this extreme of a large campus church. So a large campus church, has anybody been to a church that has 40 acres? Nobody. You have. So I can tell you right now, there are 40-acre churches all around. In fact, believe it or not, you might be surprised, there are actually some 20-plus acre churches on this very island. And so when we start looking at large campus churches, and so when we talk about a large campus church, the Baptist church down on the south end, they have a retreat. They have a retreat center that provides for, originally was set up for youth. Now, my point of saying that is a large campus provides community connection in a different way. You can actually look into things that 8 to 15 will not. But I thought it was interesting as I heard some of the comments. Andrea has to ask the question about, you know, what is scalable when we look at cost effectiveness. And we've thought that probably the 8 to 15 allows us to be able to have community engagement, but not such significant community engagement, because we're probably not looking at building something that has 1,000 to 2,000 seats in it. Has anybody been to a church that has 1,000 plus seats in it? Look at how many of you have. And so we're probably, actually, the research shows that churches in the United States, people, when asked what kind of size do they like to go to worshiping wise, the big box churches are struggling. They're trying to figure out how to deal with some of these big auditoriums and how to keep them full, or people feel like it's cavernous. We're probably looking at something that will, you know, at the max seat 500 to 800, but it's probably going to be more like something like 300 to 600. So I came from that church that seated 500 to 600 each service, and we at our height we're at about 1,200 in worship, and we had, as I think Lauren said, we had a 8-acre campus, we had a school, we had a monstrous child care center, we had a community park and soccer field. So, you know, and parking on site. So this tells you that, you know, something that is in the 8 to 10 is probably doable. Up to 15, one of the questions in down here is what is actually usable land? Because oftentimes you end up buying land that some of it cannot be usable because it's the low country. And so those are all going to be considerations. Speaking of considerations, let's jump to the next one, timing and price. You'll hear more from Dave about our progress, but if there's anything that's become very clear, timing is a consideration. I'm not going to get into details with you, but because of the lease conversations, we were given a really good lead, and Dave and Andy were working on that lead and followed up, and thank God we've got conscientious staff here because they filled out the application and got it up and going, which was really good, because I was just told yesterday that a church of 300 plus in worship is looking for a space and went to that very same option and asked to fill out the application. Timing. Thank God the organization said, well, actually, you'd have to go in line behind another church that is put in. Timing's a big deal with lease, but it's also a big deal with land. We've got also other considerations, like price. And the reality is, you'll hear more details about that in a moment. Location, you know, we're looking somewhat in that western out toward 170, 278 area. But then you have issues of accessibility. You have to deal with the county, and county and the city have concerns about churches. How do people get in and egress, ingress, and how does it affect neighborhoods and traffic patterns? Visibility. You know, my goodness, those people that had foresight and built out there on 278, wow. And on 170, I mean, I drive by those churches all the time, and I'm like, this is good. I'd like this church. Would you sell it to me for $1? I mean, it's just a no-brainer for visibility, but, you know, we'll have to deal with this as one consideration of other considerations. And I know I mentioned the government. The truth be told, zoning usage is a big deal, because guess what? In counties like we have right now, you know what they want? They want tax dollars. That's right. Tax revenue is a big deal. So we've got to be in a place of showing the viability and the partnership, the service mentality, the heart of our church, because we're very likely going to be petitioning for a zoning change. and dealing through the permit process, which all takes time. So we probably just need to understand, before I kind of turn it over to Dave, we're pretty clear on, from the moment we buy the land, according to the pastor at the Cornerstone, he told us who they bought out on May River Road, and he said you should count on 4 years. You might get it a little earlier, but you should be thinking 3 to 5 years. So what we're talking about is, it's 2025, soon to be 2026. We're looking at the end of the 2020s or the early 2030s. So that should kind of give us all a perspective. And that's assuming we can go out, buy the land, and finish the first phase. I told the people that came at the last one, this is a nut that we pretty well have a good handle on what it's going to take. We're looking at probably somewhere in the tune of $8 million to be able to buy the land, to put in some form of driveway parking, and some sort of community center first site. So a community center would be something that would provide us with worship space. It would be multifunctional, and we would want to position it on the property so that the rest of the property could be developed for future ministry options. So that gives you 8, I personally think 8 to 10, because I'm a conservative guy on this, but that gives you an idea of what we're looking at to do this. And so it's a pretty important and exciting time, because the truth be told, it was 1985, remember, when the mission started on the island, and that mission on the island of 1985, it was 1992 when this Easter of 1992, 7 years later, that service was held on Easter Sunday on the campus. So look at that, it was 7 years. And so you can start to get a sense of kind of not only timing, but what all of this is going to look like going out. And yes, I'll be 63 in about a week. So, oh boy, fun times ahead. Amen? All right, thank you for allowing me to share some things. I want to let Dave come up, and by the way, you all will hear more details, but we all celebrate Dave's work. But I will tell you, this week he just passed his oral exams to be a lay deacon in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Isn't that great?
Deacon Dave. Thank you. On your sheet, you can see we've been working at this for a while. We've got 3 realtors that we're working with that are giving us leads, if you want to call that, and we're also looking online at the multiple listings, et cetera. In reality, we haven't really had a lot of activity. There's some discussions at our table before, with all the property you see the signs for and everything when you're traveling up and down 170 and 278. A lot of those are commercial for the building of houses. And the zoning, as Jeff mentioned, is difficult as well. As far as the community leaders, Jeff referenced one of the pastors of Cornerstone. I also have a contact of a pastor, a Baptist pastor that does land development in the 3-county area that we're in. So we're meeting with them. They give us some experience, their experiences and what they've gone through with the search, but also with the zoning aspects. We've also, one of the pieces of a property that we had looked at for some time, we've had an architect that had done some work for another client who was looking at buying that land. So we've got a good idea of what that would take. And so we've got a couple architects that are working with us as well. As far as, I list there Thomas Campbell. We have a relationship with LCEF. We're going to be meeting with them again on Monday. They have a couple areas, and one of the things in my lay deacon program, there were some demographic studies that were done for us. So we by LCEF, and we can look at the demographics, who's going to be moving into these areas, how much population there is, where they're working. You know, at our table, we talked about the expansion of the port of Savannah, Port Wentworth. We talked about the Hyundai plant down there and some changes recently on that. There may be some jobs available. As far as the, we also have, Gulfstream, and they continue to do very well and expand. So a lot of people moving into that area. So you see expansion down there, and as Audrey mentioned, around the Argent area, north on 170. So our focus has been there because of, working on this. I've got, this says 8. I would say I've added 1 piece of property that, and really it's very difficult because when you look at a church where we want a frontage road, looking at 170, 278, we'd like to have, be able to drive down there like you see St. Gregory's Church or not with these other churches that Jeff has mentioned. It's difficult. One of the nice pieces of property that I saw is right behind the Nissan dealership, but you have to go through a frontage road and go through part of the Nissan dealership to get there. You wouldn't see the church. So these are issues that come up. The realtors, the reason I have 3 is because when the first one we were dealing with, I thought was not giving me enough information. So I expanded to different realtors, and it's really a difficult market. To get a piece of property in our range, 8 to 15 acres, seems to be small. And so people are buying big pieces of property and developing them. So just before Jeff finishes up a little bit, you see that, I've got a small sample size, but $153,000 an acre is roughly what we're looking at. When we talk about finances, our church, I don't have the numbers from August yet, but we do have a designated account that we are looking at to use as, let's call it a nest egg. 518,000 is in there. That should increase a little bit next month. Where we are today, slightly, the offerings are slightly off of what we thought, but they're more than last year. Expenses are significantly less, but you have to look at the timing of our mission spending is normally in the fourth quarter, especially in December. So we'll be spending more money then. And part of the reason that our expenses are low, we also had Pastor Kevin, who'd been on a long-term or short-term disability, so we weren't paying his full salary. He was getting his full salary, but 70% of that was coming from Concordia plan. So, we are in good financial position. We don't have a mortgage here, but we do need more money than the 500 and some dollars that are in that nest egg to be able to, if you could buy a house, you need a down payment, and you need to be approved by a bank. So we've all had those experiences, but Jeff will tell you how we're going to do that.
So with the sheet in front of you, you can see the Mainland Online Ministry Fund for short term. Dave referenced that we have some money coming in, and frankly, that's because one of our family who is excited and spent time in prayer has already made a pledge toward the coming campaign, and decided because of the financial position, it would be better to give the first of the 3-year allotment in 2025. said the stock market, things are good, want to do it now. And so that's good news, because not only does that show us that people are in prayer about their gifts, people are making commitments for the 3 years, but people are also starting to put gifts into that fund, and that's a good thing. The ministry expansion campaign that's going to be public in January has already started. We are working with Lutheran Church Extension Fund, and as such, we've been doing a lot of the behind scenes. How many of us in this room have been through a church campaign before? Looks like pretty much all of us. And I only say that because it's a real beautiful, holy time. It's a prayerful time. It's a time, let me just say, if the family that made the first commitment are any witness to what is to be, I would say there is going to be a beautiful spiritual awakening and beautiful spiritual, joyful, emotional, because there was nothing negative that came out of their mouths. They were just so ecstatic to be a part of this. So that's going to be that's something that you'll be hearing a lot more about as the fall goes forward, and there are going to be places to volunteer. There are a lot of different moving pieces for a campaign to take place. Some of you might know I've been privileged to be a part of 7 campaigns, and so this is number 8. And so I've been down this road. I'm happy to answer questions and will be setting out information. And finally, you know, I look at this from a longer term perspective, and what I'm excited about is our church's commitment to discipleship for legacy gifts. It's been a really neat to hear people in our church realize, oh my goodness, it's all His. And how can I actually honor the Lord? He gave me kids and grandkids, but also honor the Lord in a long-term gift, which is, you know, I'm a tither in life. Why wouldn't I be a tither in my estate? And by the way, it's just amazing when people realize when you tithe, you're talking about 10%. That really is not taking a whole lot from our children, but it is giving them a whole lot in terms of a testimony of your priorities and your belief. And so that legacy message can live on in the kids' lives. So I am really, really pleased to, you know, we have Lauren Lumpy here today. Put your hand up, Lauren. Lauren is chairing, he's the team leader for the Legacy Connections ministry team that's going to be working with Dave and me. And we already have a nice cadre of folks that have expressed interest in working on that. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of kind of how we can afford. I can tell you as I stand here, I wouldn't have wanted to do this in my 20s, and that is put a church in financial straits. I wouldn't have done it in my 20s. I can assure you I'm not going to do it in my 60s. So as I stand here, the beautiful gift is one church, many sites is not up to us. It's up to the Lord, amen? And we'll just go about it in a way that honors the Lord. And want to give you a chance to ask questions. If you have some questions, Dave is happy to come up as well. Any questions about what we've shared about vision, considerations, progress to date, financial considerations? No? Yeah, all right, hold on a second, Bob. We'll get you
What's the difference between the mainland online ministry fund and the current ministry fund?
Oh, that's a great question. Go ahead and, Dave, do you want to take care of that with the 75-25?
Yeah, if you go back some years ago, the voters meeting, we had a split of the money at the end of the year. That's let's call it a current fund. That was split. 75% was for expansion of in the mainland, and 25% was for local here. So we said we're going to be expanding the ministry here, and we have over those years, and that has continued. So there's two designated funds. One is designated for the, and we've now changed it, and we have, with the approval of the LMB, we have buckets where we're putting money, people can donate money to either of those funds. And you'll see that the current, let's call it the current fund, the current building fund, existing expansion, you see the money has gone down from that significantly because the roof that we replaced. And so we are maintaining this building, and we're committed to doing that, but we're also focusing most of the current fund and a designated fund that's growing, so that the gift that Jeff talked about all goes into the mainland/online ministry.
Any other questions? Yeah. All right, Andrea.
I didn't forget. I just got to remember what I wanted to say. My name is Andrea. My question is, okay, when you're talking 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 years or whatever short term is, when you're talking about zoning and permitting and purchasing land, okay, does that estimate 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or is it like 3 years before a bulldozer can come in and
that's a great question.
Take down trees?
So Greg Bestie has been working with an architect and an engineer, and frankly, the lady right next to you could give you a little perspective because she just went through this in a business endeavor for their family, as well as the guy from Cornerstone recommended that we allot for about a year, possibly 18 months. Could go as far as 2 years. You don't want that, but that's why we want to be thinking. So we're probably talking about breaking, if you will, breaking ground a year and a half into it. And so that would be the ideal. We just have to wait. Some of this is out of our control. When you're dealing with the county, it's different than dealing with the city of Bluffton, we've learned. And so some of this we have to wait and see what happens. Interestingly, out of the lease conversations, one of the things that came up and has now become a project for Dave and others is what would be the possibility of buying the land and putting up a, if you will, short-term, temporary building, which might not end up being temporary. There are churches that have actually put in some form of what I would call a modest building, whether it's metal, prefab, or otherwise, and then have parking there, and then converted it later to something that could be used for a youth recreation center or some other use. So we're exploring all possibilities, and I think flexibility is going to be the name of the game for us. Obviously, we'll know soon if we got the temporary place we're hoping for, and if we got that, we'll see what happens. Other questions? Did that help? Andrea, did that help you? Good. Go ahead, Mary.
Are parsonages a thing of the past?
It's a great question. Mary's asking about parsonages, and basically we're talking about housing for church workers. Ironically, parsonages, church worker housing is rebounding in places, not out in the middle of Nebraska or Iowa, but ironically on the saltwater districts in the big cities, churches are, not only Lutherans, but other churches are buying properties nearby so that you can get quality workers, because the challenge is, how can quality workers afford to live here? So that is definitely, again, something of consideration. We're going to keep sensitive to time. Are there any other questions? Well, I want to personally thank you for your participation. I know you're going to have, Ron's going to come back, or maybe Bruce, somebody, but Dave and I, Andy, Grace, Steve, Kevin, though not right now, I'd appreciate if you give Kevin some break. We stand by ready to answer questions and sit down with you. There are a lot of exciting things going on. We also covet your prayers because, quite frankly, it is a significant time of work, to say the least. Mary asked if we have an update on the lease. The update is what I shared before, is we have an application in. I'm not going to say where it is, and I'm not going to say what it is until the shepherds and the leaders of the church know. Once they all know, and once we have confirmation that we're getting it, we'll be sharing it publicly.
Thank you, Pastor and Dave, for all that, for the sharing of that information. It's very good information for us. And it shows us all the hard work that's been taking place so far, and it'll probably be continuing over the next little bit because there's just a lot yet to be done. At this time, I'd like to ask Bruce to come forward and tell us all how we can help with what we need to do going forward.
Okay, so we had a lot of good discussions this morning, and I think it's important that you let the Spirit work in you and deploy the Spirit out as we go out. Be in prayer with us. Be informed. Keep asking questions between the board and, as Pastor said, the shepherds and the ministry team can help you on that. And be positive ambassadors, please. Help the people out on the mainland understand we're coming and why we're coming. And connect. Do your discipleship out there. Take our mission statement out there to them. So I think we want to keep everybody involved, and that's why we've had these meetings, is to try to keep you updated. And we would ask that you bring back, excuse me, you bring back your comments, your questions, and your ideas to us. So, thank you. Is that it, I think? Pastor?
Yeah, you want me to close the prayer?
Yep.
So, as we did in the lease conversations, I think it's really important that each of us in our own quiet time go before the Lord. I'm going to give you some things to begin praying for right away. We've asked for the Lord to protect us, and that protection has so many different facets to it. And I cannot help but think that one of the protections is the care and love and healing of our brother Kevin, and for the church in the midst of this time of his unavailability. We also, as was asked about the lease, we are really hoping that this application that we've submitted returns favorably, but the staff has spent a bunch of time. If it does come back, there's a lot of work. And so we'd ask for you to continue to pray that the Lord would lead us to the place he wants to be in for temporary worship, building the core. And then, of course, ultimately, as Dave said, it's going to be hard to find this land. Lord, ask the Lord to show us it, give us the courage to step. And then more important than all these prayers is that we would ask for the salvation, the joy of salvation to be brought to people, children and adults, people of different people groups, people on the mainland, on the island, and around the world. So let's take time in quiet, and you can pray these and other prayers, and then we'll join the family prayer. Lord, remember us in your kingdom and teach us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Well, thanks for coming out. Anything else there, Mr. President?